not every day that we get to chat with the champion, who's not just been a fabulous opening batsman for his team, but also a top coach who took not one, but 2 sides to the top of the ICC Test rankings.
I thought you were going to say 2 test wickets.
Well, apart from the 2 test wickets, who can forget the role that he played in India's 2011 World Cup winners? Gary, thanks for your time. We also have the director and CEO of Nautilus Mobile, Anuj, who's a young yet very experienced mobile game developer, creator, what have you. Anuj, thanks for your time as well. He's responsible for creating one of the best mobile gaming franchises in the world, Real Cricket.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Gary's coming off a frenetic 2-day auction in Bangalore. How was it?
Frenetic. Yeah, and it was busy. It was, when you're starting from scratch with teams, it takes a long time with 10 teams to build out your team. 590 players in the auction. So to get through the list takes a long time, and then there's the bidding that's going on, which takes a while as well. So it was a lengthy process. By Sunday afternoon, I was ready just to pick whoever, just get it over with.
How different was it compared to your previous experience with established franchises, considering Gujarat Titans is coming out new?
It was pretty similar, I think, to everyone. Everyone was starting with 3 or 4 players. So, but it's exciting with a new franchise because you've got no reference points from previous seasons. So it wasn't as if we had loyalty to players because we wanted to have them back. We're just starting with a new team, which in many ways is quite fun. And also the owners were very good. They just said, you guys are picking the teams and you guys are going to be running the show. Get on with it. So it was good fun.
Anuj, you want to talk a little bit about the auction because Real Cricket has a really unique proposition in the game itself, right?
No, so it's funny when these questions come in and Gary's answering. Privileged to be seated here, by the way, Gary. So a lot of people, like when we are watching the auction, right? We always want to be like, oh, I wish I was there. I wish I had the opportunity to bid for a player. And with Real Cricket, we actually did that, right? So within the game, we added a mode where you were sitting on a table, right, of a franchise, and you were actually bidding for your players and creating your own team, just so that we could provide that experience, which you otherwise, regular people like us, wouldn't get, right? And that's the whole ideology behind Real Cricket, was to create a simulation experience, right? Allowing users to sort of experience what they otherwise can't, right? We can't face fast bowlers like Gary did, right? So we face them in the virtual world in Real Cricket.
I would have preferred facing some of them in the virtual world too.
Can you give some examples on the mental aspects of what goes on in the game?
Yeah, so see, one of the things that we concentrated on with Real Cricket was, obviously we cannot have the physical element simulated in the game because you play it on mobile, right? But what you can do is, you can definitely add the strategy elements, the mental aspects, right? Like things like, every boundary size is not the same, right? People think it's a round circle, but it's not. One side is always going to be shorter than the other. That drastically changes the way a real life cricketer approaches his game. Even the bowlers and the batsman. The batsman looks to clear it. The bowlers protect it more, right? So we've added these sort of elements in, which sort of takes a game to another level. So it's not like you're just picking up your mobile and trying to hit a 6, but you're thinking about it, right? And putting your field in, if you're the fielding team, putting your field in exactly to cover those boundaries and bowl a particular line and length, so all those thoughts in.
Yeah, that's nice when you get a strategic element to it, because it gets them into almost what the real life is, which is great.
Of late, a lot of focus has been put on mental aspects, mental strength, mental toughness. A regular fan fails to understand what really goes on in the mind of a player or a coach today with COVID bubbles, maybe even in your case as an opening batsman. More recently, you being part of a 2-day auction which required your full utmost concentration. Can you elaborate a little bit on what really happens and what preparations people might take to do?
Yeah, I think players go through a lot of stress, as do coaches, because there's such a demand on performance these days. It's almost like a win at all costs, environment, which can be very stressful. So players are trying to manage this performance space all the time, and coaches, and especially an event like IPL where there is a lot of pressure to win games. So, we as coaches certainly try and help the players manage that space as best possible. We try to take as much pressure off to be able to just to allow them to play with their skills and express themselves. But it's easier said than done, because when a player makes a mistake under pressure and it costs you the game, you've got to be really skilled as a coach to make sure that the player doesn't feel that pressure of performance, and allow him just to be able to play as freely as possible.
I think a lot of that can be related to what's happening today in esports. Esports is a huge deal now.
Yeah.
There are a lot of up-and-coming youngsters, probably 16, 17 years old when they start, and their peak comes much earlier compared to a real sportsman as well. They're looking to make careers out of esports itself, and they face similar pressures and anxieties. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions that you can give to them when they're looking to build their careers in this aspect?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't understand the esports space enough, but I presume if we're trying to talk about performance, it doesn't matter where it is, So I think the most important thing for me is you need to. Anxiety is created because we move too quickly to the result instead of just sticking to the process of what you do. So the most skilled and most talented players who know how to make performances, they don't look ahead, they just look here in the moment, in the present. This is what I need to do now. This is my game plan. The best players are very organized around how they go play the game. They've got plans against every bowler that they're going to face. They know what their strengths are as players. So they're very smart around their game. We always encourage guys, young players, to educate yourself, to be as curious as possible, to know how you can become a better player. And then you can start integrating what you've learned into your performance. The guys that live in the emotion and are governed by the end result, did I score runs? Did I take wickets? Did we win the game? And they live in that emotion are the guys that have inconsistent performance. Because when it's going well, they're the best in the world, but when it's going badly, they think that they're going to jump off the mountain, So we try and keep them evenly balanced as best possible.
I have a question, because when I was playing cricket, right, and when I'd bat, between balls, right, I never knew what to think. So I would read about it, etc. And Sachin used to say, keep your mind as blank as possible.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you had Sehwag singing songs between balls, right? So is there a right way, or is there something that you suggest for budding cricketers?
Well, I think you've given two great examples. It can be very different, whatever works for you. But, those guys, they sometimes they will say like thinking nothing, but there is a period where they are thinking, but just as the ball is released, it's then an opportunity to let your instincts take over. But you've done the planning beforehand. It's not as if you're not thinking. It's just when you stop thinking. So that stop thinking concept is, he's about to release the ball. I've now got to clear my mind so that all I'm doing is making a decision on what I'm going to do when I see that ball and what type of shot I need to play. Do I need to get forward or back? When that ball comes out of the bowler's hand, I've got to make a decision. And you want to be as clear as possible there. And it's interesting, I mean, as a player, I had that experience, especially against quicker bowling, where there would be chaos inside because I was worried either about getting hurt or looking bad, and you block your mind up with the negative stuff, and then suddenly the bowler is the quickest in the world. And then you'll have other occasions where you don't really care, and you've got your plan, and you can clear your mind out, and suddenly he's not as quick. You've actually got time. So it's amazing when you get into that space, which didn't happen that often for me.
Your son is an avid Real cricket fan. What does he enjoy the most about the game?
He enjoys the contest. So, I'm 54 years of age now, so I didn't grow up in a online gaming environment. Our games were just on fields and we went about it, but he's 14 years old, so he's grown up in an online gaming environment, so he loves it. He loves the contest. He loves the game of cricket. He's a IPL fan, but what he does, he's not a supporter of any one team because he follows dad around wherever franchise dad goes to, So he's a Gujarat Titans supporter now. But he loves it. He just loves being in the contest, He gets locked in there, and sometimes I've got to say, hey, you've also got to go outside and play cricket, not only inside.
Speaking of that, what tips would you give to young budding cricketers? Some maybe 3 pointers on what they need to do to be game ready, to take it up as a career.
Well, it's like anything in life, isn't it? You've got to put in the time and the hours. I mean, you're not gonna make it if you aren't prepared to spend a lot of time doing it. And I think the youngster of today there's a lot of different directions that they can go to. So it's easy not to commit to something properly. When I grew up, we didn't have much else. It was just, if you wanted to be a sportsman, there wasn't much else to do. You didn't have the other distractions. So I think young players and kids of today, they've almost got to be single-minded in that view. Another thing is you've got to absolutely love what you're doing. You've got to enjoy it. Because if you're not going to enjoy it, if it's a chore, if you've been pushed to do it, and you're not self-motivated to do it, you're not going to enjoy it, for too long. And then the last thing I would say, and I always say this to my kids, is continue to educate yourself in your passion. And I think young kids don't, because they do. They've got all these distractions. I said, you've got so much live cricket that you can watch. Just watch it, educate yourself, see what the best batsmen and the bowlers in the world are doing. Continue to be curious, because you've got to build up your intellect around your own game.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time, Gary.
I'm just going to add one thing, right? And really privileged again to be sitting beside you, right? And you're given, South Africa, a lot of things to be proud of, right? You've given Indian cricket a lot of things to be proud of. And one of the best birthday presents ever I've received in my life, right? Which was the 2nd of April, 2011, yes. Right? So cannot forget that day, and thank you so much. And I hope one day you come back and coach the Indian national team again.
Well, is that a question you're asking?
Well, I think a lot of the people who are watching this, right, would like to know, if you would like to come back at some point, given the opportunity.
Yeah, listen, thank you for that. And India sits very fondly in my heart. I mean, it is a second home. I've been over here 50 times now.
Wow.
Yeah, so I come back a lot. And it's a lovely place for cricket. I enjoy coming here. I enjoy the IPL event. But you never know. My kids are a little bit more grown up now, so you never know if an international opportunity came up. But there's a fantastic coach and a good friend of mine currently coaching the Indian team in Rahul Dravid, so I wish him well.
And as they say, never say never. So you never know. Thank you. Thanks, Anuj.